Begin today the Gemara on Daf Pei Hey Amud Aleph, 7-8 lines down from the top of the Amud, where it says Omar Rebbe. Omar Rebbe said, Chavivin Yisurin, the person that experiences pain, affliction, is very beloved, is very cherished. This is a continuation of the Gemara here. It says before, Benegay to Rabbi Elazar Rab Shimon, how he invited all of these pains and afflictions on his body in the evening, and then they left in the morning, and he accepted it all with love. So Rebbe was a colleague, a friend of Rabbi Elazar Rab Shimon, as the Gemara brought before, and it says that Rebbe also said that the pain is cherished. Kibbal alei, he accepted upon himself Tleisa Shani, 13 years of suffering. Shis b'tzmirta, 6 years of tzmirta, which I think is kidney stones, unless they have a different taich there. Have Sheva b'tzvarna, and another 7 years of tzvarna, which is some kind of illness which begins in the mouth and the teeth and the gums, and then it has a thrush. Again, then it has a very bad effect on the rest of the body as well. Others say that it was the opposite. Shiva b'tzmirta, it was 7 years of tzmirta, v'shis b'tzvarna, and 6 years of the illness of tzvarna. So this is how Rebbe suffered for all this time. Now the Gemara describes to what degree his suffering was. Ahoraire, the Bei Rebbe, the stable care, the one that takes care of the stable, the horses, by Rebbe, Hava Ater Mishver Malka. He was so rich that he was even richer than the king Shver Malka. Right? So in other words, you understand how rich Rebbe himself was, that even the one that guards his stable was even richer than Shver Malka. When he would give the feed for the animals, Hava Ozel Kola Batlose Mili. The sound of them eating would be heard 3 miles away. So Hava Mechaven, now what he would do was, he would make sure that when he gives the food, it should be the same time. The Rami, he put the food in front of them, but he shaited the Ayel Rebbe leBeis HaKisei, at the same time that Rebbe went into the Beis HaKisei to relieve himself. Because Rebbe had such pain, and Rebbe was screaming, he didn't want that people should hear, so he did it in the time when there was the noise from the animals eating. But nevertheless, Rebbe's pain was so powerful. The sound of Rebbe screaming was even higher than the sound of these animals that were eating, and the sound of them eating went 3 miles away. And even the people that were traveling on the sea would hear the voice, the sound of Rebbe screaming from his pain. Nevertheless, the Gemara concludes, Yisuri de Rabbi Elazar Rab Shimon, the pain that Rabbi Elazar Rab Shimon experienced, Adifi mid Rebbe, was on a higher level than Rebbe. Why? Because the Rabbi Elazar Rab Shimon, me'ava bo or me'ava holcho. He accepted it with love and he had control over it. It came in the evening with love and he invited them. And then in the morning they left because he didn't want it to take away from his learning of Torah. The Rebbe, but with Rebbe though, al yidei ma'isa bo, al yidei ma'isa holcho. The reason why he got this pain was because of a certain incident that happened. And then because of another incident that happened, they left him. So what happened? With a certain incident, they came upon him. Maihi, what is this? There was a calf that was being taken to be slaughtered. So this calf that was afraid went and grabbed onto the edges of the cloak of Rebbe. And it was crying. Amalei, so Rebbe says to the calf, Zil, go, lekach mitzarta. This is what you're created for. So have a kakanshe. Sorry, I skipped a line. So now what happened after he made this comment to this calf? Hoyel v'loika merachim. Since he didn't have mercy on this calf, so they said, Omri, they said in heaven, that since he didn't have the mercy on this calf, leisu alei yisurim. So he's going to experience pain. That's the maisa that happened. These yisurim came upon him. And then then there was another thing that happened, that the pain left him, because Yom Echad, one day, the Rebbe Beisa, the maid servant in Rebbe's house, was sweeping the floor. So Havishadya b'nei Karkushta, she was throwing out these little babies from the weasels that was there in the house. The Kakonshulu, she was gathering them and throwing them out. Omalah, so Rebbe commented to the maid servant, Shafkino, leave them, don't throw them away. Ksiv, the pasuk says, "V'rachama v'kol ma'asav." The Eibishter has mercy on all of his creations. So now, after he expressed this mercy on these little weasels, Amri, they said in heaven, Hoyel merachim. Since he expressed this rachmanis on them, neracham alei. So then we'll have mercy upon him, and that's when his yisurim left him. One of the Mefarshim say, I think it's the Marsha, he says that this is when the Yisurim left him that came upon him from heaven. But then there was other Yisurim, though, that he accepted upon himself with love, similar to Rabbi Elazar Rab Shimon. And that continued even after this time. Now, all the years that Rabbi Elazar was experiencing his pain, in the merit of this, no one died before their time. All the years that Rebbe was experiencing his pain, the world didn't need any rain. There was no rain, but in the world everything grew perfectly, beautifully, and it was all moist without rain. Now, what the Rabbi Bar Avshila says, the day that it rains is like a day of judgment because it inconveniences people. It's not comfortable for people when it rains. And furthermore, Meima said, if the rain is something that was, if it wasn't something that was needed for people, the Rabbanan would daven and nullify the whole thing of rain because of the inconvenience that it brings. Some Rishonim actually add even that rain could also cause certain danger and harms in the different situations, floods and so on. Now, when the times of Rebbe, though, it didn't rain, and nevertheless, when you uprooted the radish from the row where it was growing, that little hole that was created there in the ground filled immediately with water because of the moistness of the ground, even without any rain. And the Gemara says further about Rebbe, what Rebbe did. Ikla Rebbe, that is, La Asrid Rabbi Elazar B'Rab Shimon. Rebbe came to the place where Rabbi Elazar B'Rab Shimon lived after he passed away, and Amalei, he said to the people there, Yeshloi ben La'isai Tzadik. Does Rabbi Elazar B'Rab Shimon have a son here? Amrulai, they said to him, Yeshloi ben. Yeah, he has a son, but he's not in a good place because any Zaina that gets hired out for double because of who she is, she hires herself out to him, or she actually pays to go to him for 8 times as much, meaning that he's so beautiful that she pays to be with him. That's what Rabbi Elazar Rab Shimon's son is involved in. Asyeh Tzadik. So sorry, they went up a line. Asyeh, they brought Rabbi Elazar Rab Shimon's son to him, to Rebbe. Asmechei Rebbe. So he was makar of him. First of all, he called him Rebbe so that he should see that he's going to get honor and he should want to come to learn Torah. Va'ashlamei Rab Shimon ben Isi ben Lakunya achayis ti'imei, and he gave him his uncle, basically. This is Rab Shimon ben Isi, which was the brother of his mother, to learn with him Torah. And Kol Yoyma Va'amar, every day, Rabbi Elazar Rab Shimon's son would say, L'kriyasi anez, I want to go back to my city. I don't want to learn Torah anymore. Amar lei, so Rab Shimon ben Isi that was learning with him said to him, Chakim of the Yasach, I'm making you wise. V'gulsa the dava parsalach, and a golden cloak is being spread over you. V'Rebbe karalach, and you're being called a Rebbe. You're still interested in going back to your old ways, to your city. So Amalei, he responded and said, Mumi, which is a term used as a swearing. He says, I promise, I swear, Azuvida, I leave it all, and I'm going to remain here to learn Torah. And then Kigadol, when he became older, also Yasib Mesifta the Rebbe. So he came into the yeshiva to learn by Rebbe. Rabbi heard the voice of Rabbi Elazar B'Rab Shimon's son learning Torah. Amar, he said, the voice I'm hearing is familiar. This is similar to the voice of Rabbi Elazar B'Rab Shimon. Amrulei, they said to him, this is Breihu. This is the son of Rabbi Elazar B'Rab Shimon that you brought him back to Torah.
Doesn't say his name.
Well, the Gemara is soon going to say his name. His name was Rabbi Yaisi. Kari alei, and then when Rabbi heard about this, Rabbi said on him the pasuk, Pri tzadik, eitz chayim, the fruit of a tzadik is a tree of life, v'lekeach nefashis, the one that acquires these souls, chacham, is wise. So he tied the pasuk like this, Pri tzadik, eitz chayim, the peri of this tzadik is a tree of life, zeh Rabbi Yesi, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon. So he's the peri, he's the child of Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon, that's a tzadik. Who acquired this soul though? Who brought him back to Torah? Chacham, he's wise. Who was this? That Rab Shimon ben Isi ben Lakunya. He's the one that was makar of him and learned Torah with him. Kinach nafshe, when Rabbi Yaisi, the son of Rabbi Elazar Rab Shimon, passed away, Amtul lemar tedavur, they brought him to the cave of his father to bury him there, together with Rab Shimon ben Yochai and Rabbi Elazar. There was again, like it happened when they brought Rabbi Elazar to bury him there was a snake that was surrounding and closed the cave and they couldn't enter. Amarlei or Amrulei, they said to the snake, Achna, snake, psach picha, open your mouth, v'yikonis ben eitzeloviv, and allow the son to be buried here together with the father. Like paschalu, the snake did not open its mouth; it didn't allow them in. So the people thought to say the reason was shazeh gadol mizeh, because Rabbi Elazar, the father, was greater than his son, and the son does not deserve to be buried near the father. But Yatzas Baska Vamra, or Baskal came out and announced and said that's not the reason. The reason is not because the father is greater than the son and the son doesn't deserve to be here. Ella, rather, the reason why only Rab Shimon ben Yochai and his son, Rabbi Elazar, are buried together, because Rabbi Elazar and Rab Shimon joined his father when they were together in a cave for 13 years, as the Gemara says in Shabbos. And the whole story about them being together, and Rabbi Yossi was not together with them in the cave, so therefore he's not going to be buried together with them in the same cave. Another story about Rebbe, how he was Makarev, one of the children of, or the grandchildren of one of the Tanoim. Ikla Rebbe la'asid Rab Tarfon. Rebbe found himself in the city, in the place of Rab Tarfon. Amaluhu, and he said, Yeshle ben lo yisei tzaddik. Is there any son of this great tzaddik Rab Tarfon? He would had a habit to say when he wanted to swear about something or wanted to so he would say that if this is not true what I'm saying, I should be mekapeach, I should lose my child. That was an expression that he would use. So Amrulai, so they said about Rab Tarfon, they said Ben Einloi. No, a son he doesn't have here, but Ben Bas Yeshloi. He has a grandson, a son of his daughter. And over here they said the same thing about this son, similar to what it said before about the son of Rav Elazar and Rav Shimon, that v'chol zaynish and iskeres b'shnayim, a zayna that's hired for double, sechrasai b'shmayna, she pays to be with him for 8. That's what he's involved in. Asyu, or 8 times as much. Asyu lekamei, so they brought this grandson of Rab Tarfon to Rebbe, Amalei, and he says to him, Yihodrispach, if you do tshuva, yahivnaloch bratoi, I'll give you my daughter to marry. Hadabei, so he did tshuva. Ikadamri, some say Nasva, he married her, and Vigirsha, but then he divorced her. Ikadamri, others say Loy Nasva Klal, he never married her at all. And the reason was Kadei Shula Yaimru, so that people shouldn't say Abishvul Zu Chazazeh, that it's only for this, to marry this woman, that he did tshuva. So this was what Rebbe was doing. He was Makarev here, the children of these great Tanoim that went far off. Now, Rebbe Yudah Nasi, yeah. Now the Gemara concludes and says, why did he go out of his way to such an extent to be Makarev them? The answer is, one that teaches the son of his friend Torah. He'll merit to sit in the heavenly yeshiva. Shenem, as the pasuk says in Toshuv, if you're going to bring them to do tshuva, v'ashivcha and lefanei tamid, I'll return you and you'll stand in front of me. So that's why Rebbe was doing this. And furthermore, it said, v'chol ha'melamed is ben ama'aretz Torah. If you teach Torah to a son of an ama'aretz, then afil HaKadosh Baruch Hu gezik zeira, even if the Eibusher decreed a decree upon you, mevatlo b'shvila, the Eibusher will annul this decree upon you. Shenem, as the pasuk says, v'im toitzi yakar, if you take out the one that's precious, Mizailol, from a place which was worthless, this refers to a son of a Ama'aretz. He came from a place which was worthless, and then you make him precious, you teach him Teireh, Kifi Tia. You're going to be like my mouth, just like the Eibusher's mouth is able to decree or able to nullify the decree. The Eibusher, you'll have the power to nullify Hashem's decree. The Mashai says that there's a difference between Hamalamed ben Chaverei or Malamed ben Amaretz. When you teach ben Chaverei Torah, so then it's natural for him to learn Torah because you grew up by a father that knows how to learn Torah. But so you get the schar for being able to go into the heavenly yeshiva to learn Torah. But when a person teaches a ben Amaretz Torah, a person that has no background in Torah at all, and you bring him to tshuva, so you're doing something which is hepech hateva, opposite of the nature of his background. So by you doing something which is hepech hateva, the Eibusher does for this person as well, also hepech hateva, that a decree can be nullified. No, it's not going back on that Rab Tarfon. The Gemara brings this statement here anyways in connection to the previous statement, but it's not. In the case of Rebbe, it was Taka ben Chaverei. When there's a person that he himself is a Talmud Chacham, and his son is also a Talmid Chacham. Uben benoy Talmid Chacham. And the grandson is also a Talmid Chacham. Shuv ein Torah pesakes mizare lo'ilam. So the Torah will not ever get interrupted from his descendants. Shenem, as the pasuk says, "Vani zayis berisi v'gaimer lo yamushu mipicha." The Torah is not removed from your mouth, or mipizaracha, from your descendants' mouth, or mipizera zaracha, and from your grandchild's mouth. Amar Hashem meyatav adaylam. The Eibush says this is forever. My Amar Hashem. Why does the pasuk here say again Amar Hashem? It already says previously in the pasuk here. The Gemara says v'gaimer, but over there previously in the pasuk it already says Amar Hashem. Why is it repeated again? Amar Hakadosh Baruch Hu. The Eibush is saying Ani arav lecha. I'm a guarantor for this. For this matter, that the Torah will not ever be removed from your descendants. My me'ata v'ad olam. What is it? What does it mean when it says me'ata, from now till ever? What's this word me'ata? Rabbi Yirmiyah says mikan ve'elech Torah machzeres alachsan yishalah. Since the Torah had its place to its lodging, the place for it to be now, the Torah always comes back to its lodging, to its achsanya. Just like it's here now, it comes back again later. So the Torah will always return and be there by the descendants of this person. In connection to this, the Gemara brings about Rav Yosef, that Rav Yosef, Arba and Tanisa. Rav Yosef fasted 40 fasts for this purpose, in order to be zeicha that his children and his grandchildren shall learn Torah. Vakriyu and lo yamushu mipicha. And they said from heaven that they read to him that lo yamushu mipicha, the Torah will not be removed from his mouth. And the merit of this, that he learned, that he fasted for 40 days. Then Yosef Arba and Tanisa achrine. He fasted another 40 days. That now they said to him that in this merit, the Torah will not be removed, not from him and not from his children. And then Yosef Meir Tanisa Achrine, he fasted another 100 fasts, or the Mashari actually says it is supposed to be another 40 fasts. And also the Torah will not be removed, not from you, for your children and your grandchildren. And Omar, then he said, Mikam ve'elech. Further than this, I don't have to fast anymore, because Torah machzeres alachsan yishalah. As we said before, once the Torah is in 3 generations, the Torah returns to its lodgings, to its place that it was. Rab Zayda kisalik la'arad Yisrael. Rab Zayda, when he was going up there to Yisrael, Yosef Meir Tanisa, he fasted 100 fasts, or again, there's another version here that it's 40 fasts, in order to forget the learning of the Gemara of Bavli, in order that this learning of Bavli should not disturb him of being able to learn by Rabbi Yochanan the way they learned the Yerushalmi. So Rashi explains that when it comes to Eretz Yisrael, they learn in a completely different way. They don't learn with all the questions and answers and the discussions that there is in the Talmud Bavli. They learn much straighter, much greater level of Torah. So in order to be able to receive that greater level of Torah, you have to fast all these Tanesim. This is something that's brought in Chassidus as an example. When a person wants to change from one level to another, and you're making a jump, you want to completely remove from where you were to go to a higher level, you're not able to go directly. You have to completely first remove the level that you were on before, and then only after that are you able to come to this completely new level. So he fasted 100 or 40 Tanesim to forget the Torah that he learns. Okay, then, now there's another thing that is discussed over here about this. Farshim talk about this, and there's a sikha from the Rebbe in Chelik Lamed Daled, I think it's Parshas Vaschana, where the Rebbe asks the question, how are you allowed to fast to forget the Torah that you learn? A person's not allowed to forget the Torah that he learns. And the Rebbe there explains the whole arichis, according to Daled Rebbe's Shitta, about not forgetting Torah that you learn. And the point that the Rebbe says is, you're not allowed to forget the Torah that you learn because you're disconnecting from the Torah. But over here, because he's learning in order to get to a higher level of Torah, he's never disconnecting from the Torah. Adarabah, it's only bringing him to a greater level of connection to the Torah, the real light of Torah that there was by Talmud Yerushalmi. And then after this, Yosef Meya Achranisa, he fasted another 100 Tanesim, the Leilishkev Rabbi Lazar, B'Shoneh, so that Rabbi Lazar, which was a colleague of his, they were both students then of Rabbi Yochanan, so that he should not pass away in his lifetime, and V'Nafnan Nilaveh, Milan Nitzibura. Rabbi Lazar, that is, he took care of all communal matters. So if Rabbi Zayda, if Rabbi Lazar would pass away, Rabbi Zayda would all fall upon Rabbi Zayda to take care of this communal matter, so he fasted that he should not pass away in his lifetime. And Yosef Me'achrini, he fasted another 100 Tanesim, the Lenishlet Bey Nura de Gehenim, that the fire of Gehenim should not have any effect on him. Now, Kol Klossen Yom, after this, every 30 days, have a Badik Nafshay, he would inspect himself to see whether the fire can affect him. Shagat Tanura, he fired up an oven, and Salik V'Yasad Bagaveh, he sat inside the oven to see if he's going to get burnt up by the oven. And Veloy Havashal to Beinura, and the fire had no effect on him. Yom Echad, one day, when he was doing this, the Rabbanan put their eyes on him. There was a certain level of ayin hara here. and his legs got singed from the fire. And then after this incident, they referred to him as Katan Chorech Shake, the short one, because he was short, and the one that his legs are singed. Amar Rav Yehuda said in the name of Rav, what's the meaning of the pasuk where it says, who is wise that could understand this? And who's a prophet that Hashem speaks to him, and will tell us about this. And what is this? Why was the land lost? This is regarding the destruction of the first Beis Hamikdash. So the pasuk says, which wise individual or which prophet can understand this? So the Chacham, they couldn't explain this. The Nevi'im that hear the words of Hashem, they could not explain this either. Why the first Beis Hamikdash was destroyed? Only the Eibush himself then explained this, as it says in the next pasuk. The pasuk says, "Vayema Hashem al ozvam es teirasi asher nesati lifneim," because they left the Torah, the learning of Torah that I gave in front of them. What does this mean? What this refers to is that they did not make the birchas HaTorah before they learned Torah. So the reason the Gemara is saying this is because if you would learn the pasuk, the simple pshat, that it means that they did not learn Torah, why was this so difficult to figure out? Why could no Chacham or no Navi figure this out? It must be that they were learning Torah, but they didn't realize that what they were missing was the Birchas HaTorah. Rashi's pshat for this is that if you don't make Birchas HaTorah, you don't thank the Eibusha for the Torah that it gives you, so then you're not appreciating the gift. That's why they got the Einish of Ozvam, of the Haaretz. But then there's the famous pshat.
So that's why it's early on in morning brachas.
Yeah. Then there's the pshat that it says in the Ran and the Bach in Simim Mem Zayin Shulchan Aruch where Birchas HaTorah is brought, and the Rebbe always quotes this Bach that says Barichas Gedolah that the point here is that you could learn Torah just for the wisdom of the Torah, but not the Etzem Kedushas HaTorah. That's the lashon of the Bach. To get to the Kedusha of the Torah, that's the bracha of the Torah. To remember that it's not just the words of the Torah, the wisdom of the Torah, but it's the Eibishter, the Neisna Torah, the Eibishter himself that's inside the Torah. Rav Chama said, what's the meaning of the pasuk where it says, "Belev navain tanuach chachma"? In the heart of one that's wise, there the chachma settles, the wisdom settles. So the kerev ksilim, the one that comes from amongst foolish ones, tivada. So this is something that will be known. What does this mean? So the Gemara says that belev navain. In the heart of the one that's a noven that comes from amongst smart ones, so the chachma settles on him. This refers to a person that's a Talmud Chacham that comes from a father that's a Talmud Chacham, from a family that's somebody the Chachamim. So when he learns Torah, it's not considered to be something novel. It's something which it just settles in him and doesn't make a big commotion about this. What does this mean? One that comes from foolish ones. This becomes known. This refers to a Talmud Chacham that comes from an Am Haaretz. So what does it mean, Tivada? So Ula says, it's like the saying that people say, Astira belegina, if you put a coin in an empty in the pitcher, an empty pitcher, what happens? Kish kish karya. So then the coin which bangs around makes a lot of noise. The same thing over here. This person that comes from Amaratzim, and he's the only one that learned Torah from amongst them. So then this makes noise. In other words, people see that there's a chiddush that this person came and learned Torah. People always use this expression of astera belegina kish kish karya in the negative, but here the Gemara is actually using it in the positive. The Gemara here is saying that this is a bent Am Haaretz that's learning Torah, and it's a chiddush and it makes noise. People know about this. Rav Yirmiyah said to Rav Zayda, what's the meaning of the pasuk where it says, Kotoim v'godol shamhu? Where do you see who's small and who's great? You only see it over there in Olam Haba. And ve'eved chavshi ma'adainav, and over there a servant is free from his master. So the Gemara explains what's the chiddush of this pasuk. Atula yadina the koton v'godol shamu. Don't we know that where do you see who's small or who's really great? It's only there. Ella, rather, what it means is as follows: Kol hamakten atzmai al divrei Torah ba'olam hazeh. A person that makes himself humble and small in order to learn Torah in this world, so then nasa god lo'olam haba. In the olam haba, it becomes very great. A person that learns Torah in this world and he gives himself over to the Torah to the point like a servant to his master, then nasa chavshi lo'olam haba. Then he experiences true freedom in olam haba. Reish Lakish. The Gemara says a story about Reish Lakish having mitzayin ma'arte de rabbanon. He went around to make a siman, to make a marker where the Rabbanim were buried, in order that people that come there, the Kohanim, should know where it is, so they shouldn't go there to become Tamei. And then Kimata Lamarti de Rab Chia, when he came to the cave of Rab Chia, it was concealed from him. He couldn't figure out exactly where the place of his burial is to make the marker. So he felt bad about this. And Omar, he said, Master of the universe, did I not learn and analyze Torah like him? A voice, a heavenly voice came out and said, and said to him, yeah, you did learn Torah deeply and analyze Torah like him. But Torah however, you did not spread Torah and teach Torah to others like him. And here the Gemara brings the story about Rab Chia, what Rab Chia accomplished when he taught Torah. Ki have a minzer Rab Chanina and Rab Chia. Rab Chanina and Rab Chia, they were colleagues in learning Torah. When they would argue with each other in learning Torah, Amalei Rab Chanina and Rab Chia. Rab Chanina would say to Rab Chia, Bahadi didika minzis? You're arguing with me and learning. Chas v'shalom imishtakre Torah mi Yisrael. If God forbid Torah would be forgotten from the entire Klal Yisrael, mahadran Allah mipopuli. I could bring back Torah with my deep understanding of Torah. Rab Chia said to Rab Chanina that Bahadi didika minzis? You're arguing with me. The avdi le Torah the loy tishtakich mi Yisrael. I actually accomplished that Torah should not be forgotten from the entire Klal Yisrael. Maya vidna, and Rab Chia says, what did I do? Azlina, I went, v'shadina kitna, I took the seeds of flax and I planted flax. And then v'gadilna, and I grew this, and then I took from the flax and I made from it the material, the linen, and v'gadilna nishbi. He made the nets. What did he do with these nets? V'tzayad netavi. And then I captured deers. What did I do with these deers? I gave the meat from these deers to eat to the children, the orphans. And then and then I took from the hide of these deers and I made scrolls, v'kasavna chamisha chumshi, and I wrote the chumash on it. And then with this chumashim I went v'salikna lamasa. I went into the city. Umakrina chamisha yenuki. I took 5 children and I taught 5 children chamisha chumshi. The 5 chumashim I taught each child another chumash. 1 child Bereshis, 1 child Shmais, and so on. And then umasnita shita. And then he also wrote down the Mishnayos as well. Shita, or I don't know if he wrote it down. I don't know if at that time it was already written down. Masnita shita yenuki. He took 6 children. And he taught them Shisha Sidri. And he taught each child another one of the 6 Sdarim of Mishnayos, 1 Zrayim, 1 Mayid, and so on. And then V'salikna Lamasa, V'amarna Lahu. And then I told them, Ada Hadrana. So when he left from these children, after he taught them, and he says, until I come back, Hadrana, return Vasin, and I'll come to you, Akra Adadi. Each child that learned, one learned Bereshis, you teach Bereshis to each one of the children, and same the others. And each one should teach the others of what he learned. And V'asna Adadi and Akra Adadi V'asna Adadi. Each one should teach the Chumash that he learned, and each one should teach the Mishnayos that he learned to the others. And then through this, V'avdila l'Torah d'lo tishtakach miYisrael. This is how we accomplished that Torah should not be forgotten from all the Yidden. And Hainu Da'amar Rebbe, and this is what Rebbe said about Rab Chia, Kama gedolim ma'aseh Chia. How great is the actions that Chia did. And Amalei Rabbi Shmuel, but Rabbi Yosi, when Rabbi Shmuel heard this description about Rab Chia, and he said, Rebbe said how great he is, Rabbi Shmuel, but Rabbi Yosi asked Rebbe, Afilim Imar, is he even greater than the master, than Rebbe himself? Amalei, so Rebbe said yes. So he asked him further, Afilim Meyaba, is he even greater than my father, Rabbi Yosi? Amalei, so Rebbe said, no, chas v'shalom, God forbid, lo take as I speak Israel. You can't say something like this, that he's even greater than your father. Some Mefarshim say that even this that he said that he was greater than himself, than Rebbe himself, that was also just said out of humility. But you see over here the greatness of Rab Chia. The Rebbe would quote this Gemara many times. The chiddush of what Rab Chia did was that he didn't just say to someone else, you go and take care of everything that has to be done in order for me then to come to learn out when you have the scrolls ready and the children are here sitting by the table. I'll come and learn with them. He did all the preparations. He went from the beginning to go and even plant the seeds, to then have the linen, to create the nets, all the mitzvah to go. He went and did it all himself to establish what has to be done for the children to learn Torah. Omer Rab Zayda said,
he made that for what?
To go and catch the deers, as the Gemara says, the cats are right. Omer Rab Zayda said, Emesh nidali Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina. Yesterday, Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina appeared to me. It's from the heaven, from Shemayim, and Amar Tiloi. So I said to him, Eitzel mi'ata takua. By who are you set? Where by who do you sit and learn Torah there in heaven? Amali Eitzel Rabbi Yechanan. I sit and learn Torah there by Rabbi Yechanan. But Rabbi Yechanan Eitzel me. And by who is Rabbi Yechanan learning? Eitzel Rabbi Yanai. Rabbi Yechanan learns by Rabbi Yanai. And Rabbi Yanai Eitzel me. Who is Rabbi Yanai learning Torah by? Eitzel Rabbi Chanina. By Rabbi Chanina. And Rabbi Chanina Eitzel me. Who is Rabbi Chanina learning Torah by? Eitzel Rabbi Chia. He's learning by Rabbi Chia. So Rabbi Chia was on the highest level. We see Rabbi Chia, the one that taught the Torah for the children and prepared everything for it. He was on the highest level. Amarti Loi. So I asked. Zayda says, I asked Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina. Rabbi Yechanan Eitzel Rabbi Chia Loi. Rabbi Yechanan is not standing and learning Torah by Rabbi Chia himself. Amali, so he answered me, Ba'asa, the Zikukin the Nura, in a place where there's these flashes of light, U'be'urin the Asha, and there's a fire that's burning there. Man Ma'ayel Bar Nafcha L'Taman. Who's going to bring Rabbi Yechanan that had the name Rabbi Yechanan Bar Nafcha? Who's going to bring him there? Amar Rav Chavive said, Ishtoili Rav Chavive Bar Surmarki. Rabbi Chaviv Bar Surmaki told me the following: that Chazilei Ahumir Rabbanon. One day he saw one of the Rabbanon, the Havashchiach Eliyahu Gabay, and this was one of the Rabbanon that he used to have conversations with Eliyahu Navi. The Litzafre, in the morning you saw this Rabbanon have a Shapir Neina. He had beautiful eyes. His eyes were in good condition. Uluorte Dami Kedemekilin Benura, and then in the evening he sees that his eyes were like they were burnt in fire. So Amri I said to him, my hi, what happened to you? V'amali, he said to me as follows: the Amri Lei I said to Eliyahu Navi, Achvili Rabbanon Kisalki L'Mesifta Derikiya. Show me the Chachamim when they enter into the heavenly yeshiva. Amali, so he said to me, B'kulu matzis l'stakuli b'hu. You can go and see all of them. L'bar miguarka de Rab Chia. Besides in the tent of Rab Chia, there you can't look. The latest takelbei, don't look there. And he said to him, how will you know that this is a place you shouldn't look? My simenayu. What's the simen here? B'kulu, with all of them, azli malachi. Kisalki v'nachsi. All of them, when they come in and out from the yeshiva, there are angels that are accompanying them. Levar migor kad Rab Chia. Besides, by the tent of Rab Chia, the minafshei salik v'nachis, that he enters and goes out himself, and over there, it's only the Eibusha that goes with him, and therefore you shouldn't look there. So like so this Rabbanan said, I couldn't contain myself, and and I looked there, and so what happened was also trei betuti denura, two sparks of fire came out, and they burnt this person with some yinuleine, and they burnt his eyes, and that's what he saw, that his eyes were burnt. The next day, Ozli, he went the Shtatchi Amarte, he went and davened and lied down by the cave of Rab Chia. That as a result of looking at his yeshiva and the way he was learning Torah L'Mayla, his eyes got burned. And I said, Masnaise de Mar Masnina. I learned the brises of Rab Chia. Rab Chia was the one that put together the brises, and I'm learning your brises. And in this merit, I should be healed. Ve'etzi, and his eyes were healed. Another story, the Gemara says, Eliyahu have a shchiach b'mesifte de Rebbe. Eliyahu used to come to the yeshiva of Rebbe, to come to learn Torah there. Yom Echad, one day, Reish Yar Chahava, it was on a Rosh Chodesh, and Nogale v'lo he was delayed and he didn't come on time. Amalei, so Rebbe said to him, my time in Nogale lema, why did Eliyahu Navi come late? Amalei, so Eliyahu Navi answered, Ado kimne la'Avram u'meshinu yadei, because I had to wake up Avram Avinu from his sleep and wash his hands, u'matzli, and that's when he davens. And then Magnina, I lie him back down. Magnina lay, I lie him back down. V'chein liYitzchak, and the same I do for Yitzchak, and v'chein liYaakov, and the same for Yaakov. So therefore I was delayed. Yeah, we had this Gemara in the Maimer. Yeah, we learned this in the Maimer. Yeah.
Notes in Chumash yesterday.
Well, this story of Leo, I didn't see in the story there.
No,
okay.
There was a footnote.
Okay, could be. But like Minu Bahadi Adadi. So Rebbe asks, why are you doing this? Why are you waking them each up separately? So it takes time, and therefore you were delayed. Do it together for all of them. So and they should all daven together at the same time. So Leo and Navi said, Savri, because I thought to myself, Takfi berachmi, if they daven all together, so then the mercy that they have will be very, very powerful from their davening. Mashiach will come before the time. Hashem doesn't let him do this because it's before the time, so therefore they can't daven all together. So the Mefarshim here say that if so, he should have been delayed every day. Seemingly he was doing this every day for the Avos. So why only on a Chodesh was he delayed? So they say the answer is because every day he actually would wake them all up together and they would daven all together. It's only on a Chodesh where there's a special koyach to the davening, like we say benegeh to the Meilad Dalavana, that it's Asidin L'Schadish Kamaisa. So the Chodesh is a special koyach for a person's davening. So therefore, if they would daven on a Chodesh all together, then Mashiach would come. So Amalei, so Rebbe says to Eliyahu Navi, "V'yesh dugmasan ba'olam hazeh." Is there anybody that's similar to the Ovis, the way they daven? Is there anyone similar here in this world? Amalei, so I answered him, yes. Ikir Rab Chia Banov. This is why the story is brought here. Again, we see the great level of Rab Chia. There's Rab Chia and his children that are on this level. Goes Rebbe Tani says, Rebbe decreed a fast. Achsinul Rab Chia Banov. He brought down Rab Chia Banov to go and be the shliach tzibur to daven for the Yamid. So Omar Masha V'Ruach. When Rab Chia and his children, they were davening and they said Masha V'Ruach, the Eibusher should blows a wind. The Nashva Zika, immediately the wind began to blow. Omar, Meirid Ageshem, he said Meirid Ageshem, V'asa Mitra, rain came. Kimata, Lemeima, Mechaya Mesim, they were about to say Mechaya Mesim in the bracha, Rogesh Alma, the world began trembling that the Eibusher is going to be Mechaya Mesim because their tefillah is very powerful and it's going to be answered. Amri Berikia, in heaven they said, Man Gali Razia Balme, who's the one that revealed this secret in the world? Amri, they said, Eliyahu and Navi revealed the secret of the power of their davening. Asyul Eliyahu, they brought Eliyahu immediately and Machiu Shitten Pulse Denure. They gave him 60 fiery lashes. Also, Eliyahu and Navi immediately came here in the world. Idamilu Keduvid Denura, he appeared in front of them like a fiery bear. And Al Benayu, he came amongst them with Tardinu and he disturbed their davening. And they couldn't daven to bring Mashiach. This last story here in the Gemara is brought also in a Maimer from the Rebbe, Vayigash, Tafshe Chafei, and the Rebbe explains the power here, the tefillah of Rab Chia and his children, that part of the power of Rab Chia and his children's davening was a few things. First of all, it's not only their davening, but it's the fact that they davened as a shliach tzibur. The fact that they're davening with the koyach of the tzibur adds to their power. And also the fact that Rebbe is the one that told them to go to be the shliach tzibur. Was with the koyach of Rebbe that unites the whole Klal Yisrael. That was the tremendous power of the davening that Mashiach could have came at that time.